Oh, welcome back to Steve's Corner. Turning lemons into lemonade. Man, I tell you what, I went through the ringer last week. I made that video about the little bitty car troubles I was having, and they ain't much, but it just seems like there's always something that goes on. You know what I mean? It's always something. And last week wasn't much different. Sometime last week, I think it was last Thursday, me and baby went to another estate sale across town over yonder. And they had you parking in this big old field. And it was across the street from the house is what it was. The problem is that field, or the day before that, Wednesday, we had a lot of rain down here. It wasn't a lot, but it was an all-day thing. And that's where you had to park at. And so we took the car. We didn't know where we had to park in that field. It wouldn't have made no difference because I ain't got four-wheel drive. But getting into that field wasn't that big a deal. You had one little muddy spot where everybody had to turn at. But as far as where you were parking at, wasn't bad at all. So we went in there, look around that estate sale, probably spent a couple hours messing around up in yonder. We come back out and that car had sunk. That thing, it's low to the ground anyways. You can barely fit your head under it. But it had sunk down to the frame in the front. It had the I guess you call it cowling or whatever, that plastic stuff around your bumper had was actually touching the ground when we got out of there. So, but they had a guy there that was he was part of the estate sale, but and he spent most of his morning dragging people out of that mud over yonder. Because they had trucks and everything getting stuck. They were like S10s, little trucks, smaller ones. Now the Jeeps over there and some of the four-wheel drive vehicles didn't have a bit of trouble, but you had a van. There's a couple of cars. There's probably 6-7 cars he had to drag out of there, and we was one of them. And it probably took us 30-40 minutes probably, and I'd say probably 30 or 35 minutes of it was trying to find a place to hook up to. Them cars ain't nothing but plastic. It don't have no tow hooks on it or anything like that, man. But when we found a place to hook up to, man, he snatched us right out. It wasn't that big a deal. But man, I got out of there, because you had to dig out that mud and crawl up under there looking for a place to hook up to, And while I was there, I was helping a couple other people try to get out too. We couldn't ever get them out. They all had to be yanked out. But they would sling mud on you, them tires. Man, I was covered in it, man. I was having a blast. It shook the wife up a little bit. It kind of ruined her morning shopping trip. But I told her, hey man, there's nothing we could do about it. We had no idea. It seemed firm when we got out, but just the weight of that car just made it sink a little bit. It was real sloppy. But we didn't slide or anything getting there. It wasn't hard. It's just once we got there and left it for a while, that weight just sunk it down to the frame there. But I had a blast. You got a little unnerved. I hadn't had to do any of that in years, man. Get drug out the snow or help people get out the snow or mud in decades. Last time I did, I'd back down into the road, to the yard here, and dropped something off. And I got stuck right there in my backyard. I've never had a four-wheel drive. Never need one. Maybe once every decade we get a snow that's, a couple feet or something, but other than that, I don't go off-road very seldom. All I did was just wait a couple of days till the ground hardened and I'll come right on out of it. But anyways, that's how I turned lemons into lemonade last week. It could have been a stressful situation, but it was fun for me. I enjoyed it. Get to kill a couple hours and figuring things out and wallowing in the mud a little bit. But how about that They're on school shooting they got up there in Madison, Wisconsin, I believe it is. Last I heard, I just heard it before I come out here. Last I heard, there was 5 that had died from it, and at least 5 others that were injured. And I don't know how bad they were injured. They could be dangerous for them too. You know. And I can hear them politicians now ban them guns. You know. What ticks me off about the whole situation? I hate it. You know, I mean, them kids ain't even got a good start in life, and they've been took out. I guess, I don't know, it could have been teachers that got shot. I don't know. You know, that bothers me a lot. But what gets me is the politicians, they could fix it. It could be fixed. It's going to take the money to do it. But nobody wants to fix it. All they want to do is ban guns, and that ain't going to stop it. Somebody's going to do something like that, don't give a darn what the law says. They just don't. That's the nature of being a criminal. That's why they call them a criminal. You know. I don't know how to fix it, man. In my opinion, I think if they had an armed guard, I wouldn't arm the teachers. I think if they had an armed guard, had the school locked down when the kids was in there, metal detectors, stuff like that. You know, I think it would go a long way as a deterrent, and it would prevent a lot of it. Schools are what they call safe zones or whatever, and no weapons allowed, and people that carry a gun in there know that. There's nothing to stop them from causing mass destruction. You know, I think it's a mental health issue. I think we were woefully prepared to handle the mental health problem we got in this country. 300 and some million people, man, you know we got a house full of people who could use some mental health help. You know, and I think it's a combination of things. You know, I don't think taking the guns away from regular people is going to make a big difference. I really don't. But that's what they're going to cry about. I think if they really got together and wanted to solve it, they could solve it. Man, you put a man on a daggone moon. You telling me you can't stop a daggone 16-year-old or 15-year-old or 20-year-old from walking into school and shooting somebody? I don't believe it for a second. I don't believe that for a second. They could do it. They just got no desire to. They want to use it as a daggone political talking point. Yes, me. Give you lip service and not do a darn thing about it. And that's what ticks me off about it. I don't know, man. Listen, y'all take care of yourselves, man. We'll talk to y'all later.